And in thirst.
Right, and in thirst. Do we own any water treatment plants? Do we own Dasani or Body Armor or Gatorade? We don't own these things. I mean, you don't. I'm just trying to be real with y'all. We're not going to sugarcoat nothing. We're just being real. We like to be honest of it. So what I'm saying, I'm not trying to trick y'all or lead y'all down a path that's like, I got you. What we really out here is we're saying what it is. Because I think that's, I'm not going to speak off my own mind. Problem, a lot of people, they don't like to say what's on their mind. They don't like to speak the truth. Right. That's what we got to do. We got to speak this truth. Read.
And in nakedness.
Right. Even the clothes you want. All the clothes we got on, we don't own Nike and Adidas and.
This ain't that we don't own anything.
Say what?
You're saying this and we don't own anything.
You could, you might be able to get your own business, but you would have to get your license from another nation, right? Chiefly the so-called white man. You have to get your license. You got to pay taxes. You got to get your supplies. Say you got your own restaurant, right? Okay. Y'all been a black-owned restaurant. Well, y'all heard of a black-owned restaurant? They don't have their own farm in the back. They gotta get their supplies from Purdue or Turkey Hill, whatever those companies are that sell meat and food. Right. So you might be able to have your own restaurant, but you don't even have the supplies. You got to pay them for the food, then you can sell the food. What we're trying to tell you is that these curses is that you got to go to your enemies for everything, just like we had to do in slavery. Right. Even worse than slavery. They gave us a little hut that we could sleep in. They took all the parts of the good animals and then gave us the scraps. Chiefly gave us pork, which is a sin. Right. But read.
And in want of all things.
Right. A license, a birth certificate, a death certificate, a passport, right? Anything you want, clothes, a car, a house, education, TV, a phone, anything you want. It says you're going to have to go to another nation for that. Read.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
He said he shall put, the same enemy's going to put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Who had the iron on their neck? Yoke of iron is a chain. Chain on their neck. Yeah. Right. That's just one of the curses. We're gonna read you another one.
Until he have destroyed you.
Right. He said he put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he had destroyed you. And what you said your race was?
African.
You said African American. That's two different continents, right? Right. Think about it. It's from two different continents. Africa, North America. Two different continents. I can be from two different continents.
And then, okay. Right. Yeah.
Do y'all know who America was named after? It was named after Amerigo Vespucci. He was an Italian. Are either one of y'all Italian? No. Okay. Leo Scipius Africanus. That's what Africa is named after. He's another Italian. Roman. Any of y'all Roman? Any of y'all Italian? No? Alright, so if you call yourself African American, you're calling yourself after two different so-called white men. And like I said, we're going to be truthful. We're going to tell y'all the truth. You said your race, you said you were Hispanic. What is Hispanic or Puerto Rican? What does Hispanic mean?
Spanish?
Hispanic.
Hispanic.
When the Spanish conquered so-called Northern Kingdom, came over and conquered the Northern Kingdom and put Hispanics in slavery, so-called Hispanics in slavery, right? You know the history. Hispanic people have been in slavery, and they had to go through the same conditions so-called African Americans had to go through.
That's right.
And they had to work in the sugarcane fields. That's how I was trying to say. They had to work in sugarcane fields. So calling yourself African American or Hispanic, that's just a curse. You say you're Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican just means what? Port of riches. Are you physically a port of riches? No. You're not physically a port of riches. A boat don't come and just land on you and get the riches. You know what I'm saying? You're not physically a port of riches. Keep reading. Actually, go to verse 54.
Verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate.
Right, he said the man that is tender among you and very delicate. Like how we're having a nice conversation right now. If you keep walking down the street deeper into Baltimore City, into downtown, you might not get that same interaction with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not very safe. And it'll be your own people too, right? Yeah. Right? Keep reading.
His eye shall be evil toward his brother.
What the Lord say?
His eye shall be evil toward his brother.
He says his eye is going to be evil toward his own brother. Give me 1 Maccabees 11 and verse 21. I want you to read it. It says his eye shall be evil toward his own brother. Now, like we said, we like to be honest up here. We like to be truthful. You ever heard of Chinese on Chinese crime? You heard of Chinese on Chinese crime?
Oh yeah.
What, like news or something?
Yeah, just
What news station? WBAL, ABC.
there was just some weird article that I read that some Chinese guys shot some Chinese guy in the freaking street over in China.
Oh well, I'm not saying they don't have murderers. I'm not saying they're not. You know, I mean,
That's technically Chinese crime.
Yeah, right. What I'm saying is the Lord's talking about a whole nation of people.
All right.
A whole nation of people that's going to be evil towards their own brother, hate each other. Even if you don't hate your own brother, your brother's going to hate you. He's talking about a whole nation of people.
And we see that everywhere though, right? Because
we see that, but he's talking about, what I'm saying is he's talking to a nation. We predominantly see that in blacks, Hispanics, and Native American communities.
right.
Because what they, I don't even like watching news on the TV anymore, because the first thing you hear is 13-year-old shot a 15-year-old. And then a 13-year-old got arrested. You see his mugshot. He's so-called black or African American.
Right.
And then they be like, in other news, another 17-year-old shot a 38-year-old and then robbed an old woman. And then everybody that was involved in the case is either so-called black or Hispanic.
Right.
And they don't really show too many news of these northern kingdom tribes and like Puerto Rico and Cuba, Dominican, Mexican, all that. They don't really show too much news on our TV. But if you look that stuff up, it's bad in those areas.
Right.
It's very bad in those areas. It's a lot of crime,
right.
A lot of hate toward each other. They got
right.
gangs and things going on.
Right.
A lot of it, they serious over there. They get ruthless. They still use what's the word I'm looking for? Their weapons they still use
machetes.
Yeah, they still use machetes. They still use I can't think of the word I'm trying to use, but yeah, they still use weapons like machetes. It's gruesome down there. Right. It's not a quick hit and run. It's gruesome. Right. They'll get you. So read that. 21.
First Maccabees 11 and 21, and it reads, there's certain ungodly persons who hated their own people.
Read it slow.
There's certain ungodly persons who hated their own people.
The Lord say,
certain ungodly persons who hated their own people.
Right, it said there were certain, that's ungodly. Why would you hate your own people? Right. We're the same people. Why would you hate your own people? It said that certain ungodly persons hated their own people. Keep reading in 54. And this is still talking about the same nation. It said his eyes should be evil toward his brother. Read.
And toward the wife of his bosom.
Right, it said, and toward the wife of his bosom. Who's known for mistreating their women at a high rate?
African Americans.
So-called African Americans. Keep reading.
And toward the remnant of his children.
Right, and toward the remnant of his children. What's the little like stereotypical joke? So-called black fathers. They go to the grocery store to get milk and then what?
Just leave.
They never come back. They say it should be evil toward the remnant of his children.
Which he shall lead.
The Lord said,
which he shall lead.
Right. This is a curse.
Right.
A lot of brothers up here didn't grow up with their fathers. How many brothers grew up? How many brothers grew up without their fathers up here? Oh, a lot of them. Majority of the brothers grew up without their fathers, and that's a so-called stigma or stereotype in the black community that they would grow up without their fathers. They will be evil toward their brother. They'll be evil toward their women. They selling drugs to each other. They're telling their women to just wear anything and do anything in the streets, pimping them out just so they can get money. You know what I mean? These are curses that befell one people. On all these curses befell the Israelites because they didn't keep the commandments. I'm gonna get it down the coffin. Look at verse 68.
Deuteronomy 28 and verse number 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Right. We was talking about this earlier. What the Israelites do in Egypt? What were the Israelites doing in Egypt?
Well, they were worshiping the other gods. They were doing a whole lot of other stuff. They were enslaved.
They were enslaved. They were enslaved. Read Deuteronomy 26 and verse 6.
Deuteronomy chapter 26 and verse number 6.
And it reads thus, and the Egyptians evil entreated us.
It said the Egyptians evil entreated us. Read.
And afflicted us.
And afflicted us.
And laid upon us hard bondage.
Did what?
And laid upon us hard bondage.
Right. The Egyptians had the Israelites in slavery. So the Lord said, if you don't keep the commandments, I'm going to bring you back into Egypt again.
Yeah.
He's talking about, so if they're going back into Egypt, what they going to do? Are they going to go back and make cupcakes and cotton candy? What they going to do?
Be enslaved.
They're going to be enslaved. So the Lord said, you're going back into slavery again. And when you read this, read it. And before we go on, how did the so-called blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans go into slavery?
White people.
No, okay, I understand that, but I'm saying, what mode of transportation?
Say it again?
What mode of transportation did the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans go into slavery?
Boats? Ships?
You're familiar with the transatlantic slave trade, right?
The what?
The transatlantic slave trade? Okay. It's when the so-called blacks and Hispanics were put into slavery on slave ships, the west coast of Africa. Yeah. Some dropped off North America, some dropped off Central America, some dropped off in South America, some dropped off in the islands. So that's what the transatlantic slave trade is basically about. So he's going to read that from the top.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Right, he said the Israelites are going to go back into slavery again.
With ships.
With what?
With ships.
Right. What race of people went into slavery on slave ships?
The African Americans and the Hispanics.
Right. So when we read these curses, all these curses you could find in the so-called black community. You could find a Hispanic community, the Native American community. These are the Israelites according to the Bible.
Right.
Those are the Israelites according to the Bible.
Right.
Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Lord didn't just create Israelites, he created other races, right? So everybody can't be an Israelite if he created other races, right? So we got to find out who the real Israelites are. They said they're the Israelites. When we read about Christ, it said he's a so-called black man. Right. We read about Judah, it said they are black into the ground.
Right.
When you dig up the soil, it keeps getting darker. Right? So the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are Israelites. They said they're not gonna have their fathers in their household. They said they're gonna be evil toward each other. They said they're gonna have to go to their enemies for everything. And that same person is gonna put a yoke of iron on their neck. That happened to us, right? Did that happen to everybody? So it can't be talking about everybody. We have to single them out. We have to find out who this is talking about. Because the Israelites didn't just disappear. Give me Romans 11 verse 1. The Israelites just didn't appear.
Book of Romans, chapter 11 and verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people?
Right. Are the Israelites gone today? Or did they just disappear off the face of the earth? Read.
God forbid.
The Lord say?
God forbid.
Say God forbid, meaning they're not gone away. They're still here. Read.
For I also am an Israelite.
Right, Paul says he's an Israelite. Read.
Of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Right. So Paul was an Israelite. Christ was an Israelite. Right. We read Christ was a so-called black man. We read the Jews were so-called dark-skinned Jews. Give me, and we're gonna read this again. Give me Deuteronomy 10 and 12. This is one of the first verses I read when y'all came up here. The Israelites, you can't just be an Israelite and then what? Right. You be like, I'm just an Israelite, and then you just go do whatever you want to do. Just go all the clubs and throw your money at women, start shooting people. They're holy people, right? Actually, give me Deuteronomy 7:6.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse number 6.
Bring it out.
And it reads, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
Right, he said they're holy people, and not just niggas. Read.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people. To be a special people unto himself. Above all people.
What the Lord say?
Above all people.
Right. He said the Israelites are above all people. That's what the Lord said. We're not going to go against what the Lord said. Right. Read.
That are upon the face of the earth.
Right. He said the Israelites are above all people that are upon the face of the earth. You said you were Christian. And you said you didn't have a religion.
I was going to say complicated.
Right. So one thing I always tell people when I hear that verse, I've never heard that verse in a Christian church, because prior to actually reading the Bible for myself, I thought everyone was equal. But the Lord just said the Israelites are his chosen and that they're above all people. And the Israelites have to do something. You can't just be an Israelite and just do whatever you want to do. If you're holy, if you're set apart, read Deuteronomy 10 and 12.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee?
Right. So who are the Israelites today?
The African Americans, Hispanics.
Okay. Sure about that? You sound like you just...
I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm just repeating what I'm trying to learn.
No, I know. I don't want you to just repeat what I say. We go off what the Lord says, what the Bible says.
And I'm just trying to hear to learn. You know?
Okay, right. So what we are teaching is that the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites.
Right.
And what we went to Deuteronomy, Jeremiah, and to show you, we showed you prophecy and signs to show who the Israelites will be today. We showed you physical descriptions. We showed you prophecy. Now, before we move on, I wanted to make sure it made sense that we are the Israelites today. If that makes sense or it doesn't make sense.
But that leads us to ask, what about everybody else? You know, like, if Jesus died for everyone, right?
We're gonna get there.
If Jesus had died for everyone, right? Why would he only single out? Why would he just single out the Israelites and everyone that's considered an Israelite?
All right, so before we get to that part, I just wanted you to understand who the Israelites are today. We just wanted to, before we talk about Christ dying for everyone, we just said Christ died for everyone.
Yeah.
I want you to understand the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are Israelites today. Does that make sense through the prophecy and physical descriptions that we are Israelites?
Yeah.
Because I told you Hispanic is just a byword that you learn in slavery. African American is another byword you learn in slavery. Black is just a color. Black is my jacket. I'm not the color of my jacket.
Right.
How could I be black? Nobody out here is this color. It makes no sense. I've never seen nobody this color. Right. So the Israelites have to keep the commandments. That's Deuteronomy 10 and 12. You can read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord.
What?
To keep the commandments of the Lord.
Right. The Israelites have to keep the commandments of the Lord.
That's right.
Right. So, good.
And his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
For thy what?
For thy good.
Right. The commandments are for thy good. Loving your brother is good.
Right.
Eating healthy is good.
Right.
So, now we're gonna go to your other point about Christ dying for everyone. Give me Matthew 15:24, and Madame, can you give me Matthew 1:21?
Book of Matthew, chapter 15, and verse number 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right. What color is that?
Red letters.
That's red letters. This is Christ speaking. He said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Tell them all. You remember we read earlier Acts 5 and 30? Remember what the context of this? We can read it again.
Yeah.
Go to Acts 5 and 30. Christ said himself, I'm not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's also in the New Testament.
Book of Acts, chapter 5, and verse number 30.
What is verse 29?
Verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
Right. That makes sense to you, right? We ought to obey God rather than men. It's not something hard. That's simple. Obey God rather than men. So we're going to go by what the Lord said, not what man said. Read.
The God of our fathers raised up Jesus, whom ye slew and hanged on a tree.
Right. Because Christ was crucified, right? Okay. Read.
Him hath God exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior.
Right. It says him have God exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior. Read.
For to give repentance.
For to give repentance.
To Israel.
To who?
To Israel.
Right. He said he was crucified to give repentance to Israel. Keep reading.
And forgiveness of sins.
Right. And forgiveness of sins. Christ came for the Israelites. That's what we read in Matthew 15:24. He said, I'm not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he said, came to give repentance to the Israelites and forgiveness of sins. So when you read the Bible, Christ came for the Israelites.
Right.
So coming for all people is the doctrine of Christianity. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I mean, if you got more questions, we could break it down further. Because I mean, I understand did you grow up in church your whole life? Yeah. I understand that's kind of something weird to hear. Like, well, Christ just said he only came for you, but I learned that Christ came for everyone. That's something new.
Right, but just a last question, right? If that's the case, that means that everyone came from Noah, right? Because of the flood and everything. So Noah was the very last Israelite after the flood, right? Technically speaking. And from there, he built the city of Babylon, right?
Noah wasn't an Israelite.
No? So why was he chosen and saved by God?
No, the Lord had a chosen seed line. He had a chosen seed line, but Noah wasn't an Israelite. The Israelites didn't come. Jacob didn't come to Genesis the 25th chapter. You read about Noah through Genesis, like through the 5th, through the 7th to the 8th,
Yeah.
and so on. But the Israelites didn't come to Genesis the 25th chapter. When you read about the Israel, go to that in Genesis 25 verse 25.
Genesis chapter 25 and verse number 25.
Yo. Keep giving me Jeremiah.
We start at 25.
You start 23.
Come. Verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb.
Right. He said 2 nations are in thy womb.
And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
Right. This is Jacob and Esau in the womb. You heard about Jacob and Esau, right?
Yeah.
So Jacob and Esau. So it goes Abraham, then it goes Isaac. The promise went to Isaac. Then it went to then Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau.
Right.
He said 2 nations are in that womb because he was going to separate them and make them 2 different people and 2 different nations. Read.
And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
Read.
And the one people shall be stronger than the other people.
Read.
And the elder shall serve the younger.
Read.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
Right.
And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment.
Right. The first nation came out red, all over like a hairy garment. Read.
And they called his name Esau.
Right. Esau came out red. Keep reading.
And after that, his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
Read.
And his name was called Jacob.
His name is called what?
And his name was called Jacob.
Right. So the Israelites are stemmed from Jacob. Give me Genesis 32 and verse 28.
Genesis chapter 32 and verse number 28. And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob.
Right. He said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob. Read.
But Israel. But Israel.
Right. So then, right, his name was changed from Jacob to Israel, and then he had 12 sons. That's where you get the 12 tribes of Israel. Right. So and Christ comes out of the seed line of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what the promise is. Go to we're gonna share that in Romans, the 9th chapter. So you start at verse 1. Because I think Paul broke this down beautifully.
Romans chapter 9 verse 1. I said the truth in Christ, I lie not.
Right. He said this. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. Right. Y'all you believe in Romans, right? The book of Romans. All right. You want to make sure.
My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost.
Read.
That I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen.
Right. Who are Paul's brethren? Right. We read earlier, Romans 11 and 1. Paul said, for I also am an Israelite, the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. Right. So Paul's brethren are Israelites. He was from the tribe of Benjamin. So read it again. Read 3 again.
For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
Right. It says according to the flesh, not according to the religion. Read.
Who are Israelites?
Who are what?
Who are Israelites?
Read.
To whom pertaineth the adoption.
Right. The adoption for the Israelites who strayed away and need to be adopted back in. It says pertaineth, meaning it belongs to them. Something pertains to you, it belongs to you. Like those are your glasses. They're not my glasses. I can't just take your glasses. I can't just walk in your house and say, this is my house. And then 10 generations down, it belongs to my family. No, that's still your house. It should go on to your lineage, to your kids, right? You can't just take stuff from other people. Read.
And the glory.
And the glory.
And the covenants.
And the covenants belong to the Israelites. Read.
That's right.
And the giving of the law.
And the law.
And the service of God.
Read.
And the promises.
Read.
Who are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came.
Right. As concerning the flesh, Christ came. So like we read earlier in Matthew 15:24, he said, I'm not sent but into the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right.
He said Christ, read that again, concerning the flesh.
Who are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh.
Right. Remember, this is talking about Israel. It says concerning the flesh. Read.
Christ came.
Right. Christ came for the Israelites. Christ himself was an Israelite.
According to the flesh.
According to the flesh. And, come, that's it on that. Now, let me You said that was your last question. Let me get, before y'all leave, can I read y'all some commandments?
Sure.
I'm gonna give you like 3 commandments. We already read Deuteronomy 14:8, which is swine, pork. So if you eat pork, you can't eat that. That's a sin according to the Lord. That's 1 John 4:3. So pork, any pork pepperoni, pork bacon, there's substitute. You can get turkey, beef, chicken.
Some people say you can't like in my school I had some friends like they like practice not eating meat on Friday. Is that what you're talking about?
They might just be fasting. I don't know exactly what they're doing, eating meat on Friday.
No,
it's part of,
not eating meat on Friday.
It's part of a practice. It's I think Catholic practice, right? Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
No, that's just
like
my...
Lent or something.
I have no idea. It's a weird
Might be Lent.
I don't know, but what you're saying about pork pepperoni, that just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I know they have a season of Lent where they give up something, so they might be fasting. It just might be that, but I mean, it all stems back to the Bible. So, like we said in Acts 5:29, you ought to obey God rather than man. Can you read? Go to Deuteronomy 14 and verse 9.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters.
Right, like so we said, you can eat beef, you can eat chicken, lamb, turkey. So if you're eating something that comes out the water, it has certain specifications, right?
All that have fins and scales shall ye eat.
Right, so if it comes out the water, it has to have fins and scales. What's that?
Fish.
Fish, right? That's simple. Fish, read.
And whatsoever have not fins and scales, ye may not eat.
Right.
It is unclean unto you.
Right, you say if it doesn't have fins and scales, you cannot eat it. What comes out the water that don't got fins and scales?
jellyfish.
Yeah, jellyfish. You can't eat jellyfish. What else? Give me 2 more. Shark? Yeah, don't eat shark.
Not shark.
Come on, don't eat shark. Please. One more, give me one more.
Oysters.
Y'all know what oysters? Y'all know what Baltimore is known for?
What?
You know what Maryland's known for? The seafood.
What, they're crabs?
Crabs. They don't have fins. They don't have fins and scales. Shrimp doesn't have fins and scales. Lobster doesn't have fins and scales. Can't eat those. Catfish. Can I eat catfish?
Yeah.
No, catfish don't have scales. They don't have fins. So when you eat something that comes out the water, it has to have fins and scales. Alright? Let me give you Exodus 20 and verse 8. Because y'all talked about the 10 Commandments when y'all came up. This is part of the 10 Commandments.
Book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse number 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
Right, Sabbath. Y'all heard about the Sabbath day? Okay. Read.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God.
Y'all know what day the Sabbath day, the 7th day is?
Saturday.
Saturday. That's a good answer. That's a correct answer. Read.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Right, so the Lord gave you 6 days to get everything you had, all the strenuous labor and work you have to do. You got 6 days to do that. On the 7th day, you have to rest. That's a commandment from the Lord. That's in the 10 Commandments. That's the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day, like you said, is Saturday. But y'all are too intelligent. Y'all two are intelligent. They didn't have watches back then. They didn't have Apple Watches and G-Shocks on. How would they know when the Sabbath day started?
Well, I know they had a calendar.
They would go by the heavens.
Right.
When the
Sundown,
sun.
sunrise.
Right. So you mean that Genesis 1 and 5?
Book of Genesis chapter 1 and verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning.
The what?
And the evening and the morning were the first day.
Right. So they told the day by when the sun. They could tell. They probably tell the time by when the sun was in the sky. When it goes down, the day is over and the new day begins. So Friday night sundown to Saturday sundown is the Sabbath. because, you know, right now we have a perverted calendar.
Right.
They created their own days, Monday, Tuesday. They're all days that they created.
Right.
And they go by 12 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Right.
How would you know if the day started in the middle of the night?
Right.
How it looks right now is how it's going to look at midnight. You wouldn't know what time it is.
See that?
The Lord went by sundown to sundown. So that's 3 commandments. What commandments did y'all learn? I want to make sure y'all know these, because like we said, you love Christ, you love God, keep the commandments. What's the pop quiz? What's the 3 commandments?
You said not to eat pork.
We good.
You said not to eat pork, not to eat anything that's have fins or scales, and to keep the Sabbath.
Keep the Sabbath day. That's 3 simple commandments y'all keep, right? But y'all got to keep reading. There's more commandments than that. Obviously, you know it's more than 10 that you're supposed to keep, right? And I'm pretty sure y'all are going to keep those too, right? The commandments within the 10.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna keep the commandments. Y'all love the Lord. All right. It sounded like y'all was hesitant about keeping.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just thinking over here.
No, I understand. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to digest. You gotta keep reading. You gotta read every day.
I must.
Brothers are up here still learning. It's a never-ending knowledge. You can never get thirsty.
Right.
Keep drinking up that knowledge. Keep eating. All right. So before y'all leave, I want y'all to throw African American, Black, Negro, Hispanic, Latino, Puerto Rican, Dominican. Throw all those bywords in the harbor. Get rid of them, because those are just terms you learn in slavery. Like we read in Acts 5:29, we ought to obey God rather than men.
Right.
So according to the Bible, what would be our nationality?
Israel.
It would be Israelites. Right. And you know that through the Bible, not just because I told you, but through prophecy.
Right.
And you can even look it up historically, archaeology.
Yeah.
Now, if you go on Google, you're gonna find a million different things. You know that. Everybody. Yeah. You type in one thing, 65,000 different searches are gonna pop up, leading you all over the place.
Right.
One common denominator we go back to is the Bible.
Right.
See what God says. See what the truth is. Right. So the brother got flyers for y'all. Those are YouTube channels y'all can watch with more information, and that's a little starter pack. It got commandments on it about the Sabbath day, fringes. Brothers, right now we got the fringes on. We didn't talk about that, but that's Numbers 15 and 38. Okay. These are fringes. Yeah, we can read that for you real quick. Give me Numbers 15 and 38.
Numbers chapter 15 and verse 38.
Bring it out.
Speak unto the children of Israel.
It says, speak unto the children of Israel. Read.
And bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments.
Right, these are fringes. The brothers got coats on, so it's kind of hard to see, but these are the fringes. All the brothers he got the gold fringes on. He got the pure white fringes on. See that? Brother over there got the pure white fringes on. Pure white. They got the royal gold. All right. So we got our brothers got the fringes on. Read. And they're going to tell you why.
Of their garments throughout their generation. Read. And that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue.
Right. So everybody, you can have different color fringes, but you have to have that border up. You see the blue right here? It's kind of dark, but it has to have the border of blue on it. Read.
And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord.
Right. When you wear these, you look down, you're like, I have a responsibility. Right. I have to keep the commandments. I'm an Israelite. The Lord set me up to be a priest. He set me up to be holy, a royal priesthood. Right. So the Lord said, wait, read that again.
And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord.
Right, so it helps you remember all the commandments of the Lord. You look down and remember, I'm an Israelite. Now, I don't know how old y'all are, probably over 18, over 20. I'm saying y'all probably never, nobody, you might have heard it, you might not, but a lot of our people haven't heard that they're Israelites. They kind of just go through the 9-to-5 motion, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Have fun on the weekends, go right back to work 9 to 5, have fun on the weekend, just keep going through the cycle and not really learn anything. So now you're like, okay, I'm an Israelite, I can't forget that.
That's right.
Lord willing, Lord willing, whoever learns that that they are actually Israelite never forgets them because they keep the commandments and wear their fringes. Read.
Right. And do them.
And what?
And do them.
Right, because you said we should do what? Repent, and then what? Keep sinning or keep the commandments? Right. Because we don't want to go.
There you go.
Because we don't want to keep going through these curses.
Right.
Even right now, we're still telling each other. We're still getting hunted down in the street by the police.
Right.
We're still getting oppressed. Y'all see these things. It's not secret. You don't have to find the crazy book in the harbor to figure that stuff out. It's plain. Y'all got any more questions? Okay. All right. So if y'all in PA, y'all near Philly?
No.
Okay. It's some more brothers in Philly. So if y'all ever in that area, or if y'all ever back out here, we out here every Friday and every Saturday.